Well, folks, I guess we could all say we got exactly, or I don't know if I want to say exactly, but pretty much have expected for most of the college football season a rematch in the national title game between the Georgia Bulldogs and the one and only Alabama Crimson Tide. Nick Saban and Kirby Smart went head-to-head back in December in the SEC title game. Alabama got the upset 41-20. And now here they are meeting once again in the national championship, a rematch. But history shows that it can be hard to beat the same team two times in one season. But we're going to dive into it and take a good look at it. Let's go. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Christian Ballard here, Ballard Sports Media, coming at you with my official preview and prediction of the College Football Playoff National Championship on ESPN. Going to be January 10th, 2022. Happy New Year. We're in a new year, day 3 of it. Literally, as I'm recording this on January 3rd, we are 1 week out from it, but I'm so excited. I got to go ahead and get it out for you. I'm going to try to premiere it for you guys. I think I want to do it on Thursday and get it out. But either way, I'm excited for this matchup. When you look at these teams, they've come a long way. Again, January 10th, 2022 at 8 p.m. Eastern, the national championship, a battle for 2 SEC teams, and again, a rematch. You got number 1 Alabama going up 13-1 against 13-1 and third-ranked Georgia Bulldogs. Alabama, of course, we know won the SEC. Not the ultimate upset of the year, but a pretty big one at that. A lot of people thought Georgia was just on this track to literally win every game. A lot of people picked Georgia, I think, to win over Alabama. But, of course, they dominated them in the SEC title back in Atlanta back in December. They win the Cotton Bowl over Cincinnati. And they've looked pretty dominant and amazing since the A&M loss, outside of the close game against LSU and the Iron Bowl, which they struggled in. And also, they kind of, they did struggle. I think it was 27-6 over Cincinnati. Georgia just straight up destroyed, what was it, like 38-11 or whatever it was over Michigan, 34-11 actually. And they just have looked so great since then. Both of these teams, Bama's looked great, have seemed to just been up and down though. So I'm not going to say they've gotten better every single week. Bryce Young has not been the issue. I know I've kind of been critical on him. He has had some tough offensive games, but I don't think that's necessarily on him. And that's where a big question comes into this game. Which Alabama are you going to get? Forget Georgia, because I think they're going to be mad and furious, and we'll get to all that later on. But are you getting the Alabama that, played against Georgia the first time around, or are they going to get a little flustered? Is the offensive line going to struggle like it did against teams like LSU and Florida that cost, not necessarily cost them the game, but the potential to put a lot more points on the board like we expected going into those games? Because, I think that Florida game, it was like, what was it? Like a 31-29, if I'm not mistaken. Which one are you getting? That's a big question. Bam Cup there. But again, Alabama won the SEC. They win the Cotton Bowl. Georgia should have won the SEC, should have beat Alabama. They didn't, but they still, of course, and rightfully so, deserved a playoff spot. They get to the Orange Bowl. They beat the heck out of Michigan. They take care of it. Stetson Bennett had probably the best game that he's had all year long, right? Seriously. You look at Coach Nick Saban, he's had his guys in prime position every single year to be so dominant, right? Some years they're amazing and dominant and talented, and we get Alabama. Sometimes they have the best year ever. Sometimes it's still good enough to win a title. Sometimes they just don't. They don't always win the national title. Kirby Smart, They have built this defensive monster. I think it is definitely the best defense I've ever seen in my lifetime for any program in college football. Kirby Smart has just built this defensive monster. It's very hard to stop. Alabama stopped it, though. Somehow, some way, they did. And they took care of it. They did their business, they did their job, and they took care of what they needed to take care of. Ultimately, what's at stake? Alabama's looking to go back-to-back, right? We know what they did last year, right? So only a few times have there been back-to-back champions. And I don't want to go through each and every one, but when you look at Alabama as a program, only one time has Nick Saban done it. It actually was literally 10 years ago. Or whatever. I don't know. We had 2020 last year. It's 2021 season. But 2011 and 2012 back-to-back national title teams. But you got to remember, they had a lot of the same players in 2012 when they went. And, 2011, rematches and everything. That's kind of what I want to get at, too, is like go back to the 9-6 game of the century game, right? History has shown that it's hard to beat the same team twice in 1 year. I mean, look at even look at last year, or was it, I think, 2 years ago, right? No, it was last year. Remember when Notre Dame joined the ACC for one season just so they could be in a conference and play football, which I still think is pretty ridiculous, but it's in the past, it's history. That's what they did. So they beat in South Bend in like 2 overtimes and double overtime, DJ Uiagalelei and Clemson. They beat them like 47-40. They rematch in the ACC title, and Clemson not only wins, but they dominate them with Trevor Lawrence. I could go down the list. I mean, there's a lot. You got, I mentioned the LSU 9-6 game of the century game with Alabama. What happened in the national title? Alabama, after losing in a defensive game 9-6, they go on and they win 21-0. Here's one I didn't think to put in my notes. 2017. What about Georgia? Who did they beat in the SEC title in 2017? They beat Auburn 28-7. But let's not forget, that's who they lost to in the regular season badly, 40-17 at Jordan Hare. I mean, I could go down the list. There's so much history with teams meeting up on the big stage, especially even in like a playoff game or a national title game or conference championship, the biggest of stages, and it's a rematch game for the regular season or earlier in the year or something like that, and it's very hard to beat the same team twice. And here's where that happens, is you have these teams that are, they like here. Let me put it in this perspective. You don't think Kirby used the SEC title loss this year as motivation to go and beat Michigan? I think he did. But also, would he not be watching film? Would he not be watching what Alabama did against Cincinnati? You don't think he knows the mistakes that were made in that game that he can fix now and carry it on January 10th in 1 week? I think he could, potentially. We'll get to that in a second here, too. So, again, look at the spread here, too. It's 2.5 Georgia on ESPN. Let's go ahead and take a look at what they have, what the FPI says here. So, again, this game, January 10th, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on ESPN. I'm looking forward to the game. It's going to be amazing. This is, everybody expects this, right? Look, and we'll get to this later on, but let's just look at ESPN for a second. 58.2, you can round that down to a 58% chance that Georgia wins this game. Now, they did this to us back in December for the SEC title, and I don't blame them then. And you can round that to 42%, 41.8 for Alabama to win. I don't blame them doing that now, honestly. If I'm being completely honest with you, you look at, 39 points a game for Georgia, 41 for Alabama. Clearly, we know Alabama's got the better offense. They got the better quarterback. But then the defense, man, 9.5 points allowed per game and 20.2, which is still pretty good, allowed for Alabama. I do love the Alabama defense this year, but, man, Georgia's is just a lot better. I don't know where it went wrong in that SEC title game, but I can guarantee you that I have a feeling that Kirby won't let it happen again, right? Let's just call it what it is. Again, the spread is – it was yesterday when I checked it 2.5 when I made these notes and everything, but it looks like they upped it to 3. So like a field goal difference here. And again, you know, still want to look at the quarterbacks. You got Stetson Bennett for Georgia, and you got Bryce Young for Alabama, right? So what is it so special about these quarterbacks? Well, obviously, being the Heisman winner, and just I've seen it this year. I know I was tough early on and everything about Bryce Young. He's incredible and amazing. But look at the passing yards difference and everything that they've done. 331 of 490 for Bryce Young. He's got over 4,000 yards throwing, 46 touchdowns, 5 picks, right? And again, Alabama scoring about 41 points a game. Georgia scoring about 39 points a game. They have had Stetson Bennett. He's clearly the best quarterback on their roster. He's just been that leader. I don't know what's up with JT Daniels, but even if he's healthy, man, it would be such a risk to put him in this game unless Stetson Bennett is struggling. You know, like, I don't know, but Stetson Bennett has been that guy. He's got over 2,000 yards throwing. He's only got 7 picks, only 2 more than Bryce Young. He's got 27 touchdowns. He's 168 of 261, 2,638 yards. When you look at it here, overall, clearly Bryce Young is a better quarterback, and I'll go ahead and say that's not even close, but that does not make Stetson Bennett a bad quarterback. He's not. You look at the rushing yard leaders. Brian Robinson, 249 carries on the year, 1,275 yards rushing. He's got 14 touchdowns. Zamir White, 147 carries, 772 yards, and 10 touchdowns for him. The lead receivers for these teams, Brock Bowers is probably the best tight end in college football this year at 52 receptions, 846 yards, and 12 touchdowns for him. Jamison Williams, 75 receptions, 1,507 yards, and 15 touchdowns for the Crimson Tide. And, you know, look, clearly, again, Bama has the better offense, and Georgia has a better defense. I mean, you could not ask for a better national title game right here, could you? I mean, truly. Like, when you look at all this here, I'm excited for it. And, again, I mentioned – you know, I put that it was 2.5, but I guess they just changed it because it is a 3-point spread in favor of the Dogs. And again, I don't blame them. And you might sit there and say, but Alabama beat them, Alabama this, Alabama that. Listen, this is their chance. This literally is Georgia's one chance at a national title. Oh, but Kirby will be back. Kirby, he might. But if you want your best opportunity, this is it. If he does not win a title this year, Kirby's not going to get fired or cut or anything like that. But I really believe with everything Georgia has this season, if they do not win this game, if they do not win a national title, if they do not win this game, it doesn't have to be a blowout. It doesn't have to be big margin. You can win it 3-0. You're still a national title. You're a champion. You win the national title. If Georgia doesn't win it this year, it will never happen because Kirby Smart would have blown the biggest opportunity of his coaching career. This is a year or so in the making of Georgia. They took a small step back last year. They signed a great number 1 recruiting class. They've been signing top 3, top 5 classes. They have all the talent. They have all the pieces. Shout out to Jeff Webster. He said it quite a few times this year. All the stars have fit and aligned so perfectly for Georgia. Now, believe me when I say this. I want nothing more than Alabama to win this game, right? I want that. I'm pulling for them all the way. I want them to win this. But like I mentioned, I mentioned some games here. I mean, it is very hard to repeat in college football history as back-to-back champions. Not impossible. I mean, Alabama, you better believe they have a pretty darn good shot at this. Holy cow. But this is it. So how do these teams win? Let's look at this real quick. So Alabama, their O-line needs to show up. They got to stop guys like Jordan Davis and Adam Anderson and company on Georgia's roster, on the defense. They have to play whatever they did for their O-line in the SEC title. They need to duplicate that. If not, do it a lot stronger. And I think that they could, but man, again, guys like Jordan Davis and company for that defense, man, they're hungry dogs. They're fierce, and they're ready to go, right? I think the O-line has to step up. Alabama needs the offense that they have had all season long, right? They got to stop Jordan Davis, guys out there like Slade Bolden, Cameron Latu, Jamison Williams. Those guys out there need to be ultimate playmakers for Bryce Young. But he cannot do that. They cannot make plays downfield if the offensive line does not step up. And I think it's going to look pretty good, right? But, you know, I really do think this will be one of those defense wins championships type of game. Even for Alabama, too. I think their defense is going to play really good against the Bulldogs on Monday night. I really do. Ultimately, let me just say this, right? Again, Alabama wins this game. They got to have the offense they've had all year, right? Bryce has to be Bryce Young. Do what you do, guy. Go out there, throw the ball downfield, decision-making. Jamison Williams and everybody just got to make big plays, right? If the offensive line can block for Bryce Young, can he make a big run play downfield? Can he hand the ball off? Can you know, our running backs make big plays too? You got Brian Robinson or whoever out there. We sometimes mix it up a little bit. We might put a guy like McClellan or Williams out there, but B-Rob's he's been the key guy. The lead receiver's been Jamison Williams. I mentioned over 1,500 yards. His longest play is 94 yards for a catch. He's got 15 touchdowns on the year, 75 receptions. So those guys have to be offensive playmakers. I think that they very well could be. And you better believe that Alabama will come out firing. I think that it'll start out, though. How do I want to put this? I think it's going to be a big defensive game in this one. I think Alabama's going to – whoever gets the ball first. It might be Georgia. It might be Alabama. But I think at least for, you know, Alabama's first offensive drive of the game, I think they're going to come out firing. They might – maybe on the first play it's a big play downfield and maybe a secondary player, you know, stops them right there for Georgia, right? You know, and they have a few guys out there. You need to look at some key guys on defense. We mentioned Jordan Davis or whoever all the time, but they got Adam Anderson out there. They got Nolan Smith, Channing Tindall, Nakobe Dean, Lewis Seen, Chris Smith. And that's what I said in the Michigan preview. That's what I said. What I've really said about Georgia all this year is they're plug and play. That's how good this is. That's how deep this is that if one guy goes down, they have enough in the backfield and in the back room for them that they can put those guys on the field and make the big plays that you need them to make. And I think that they can do that on defense. Overall, let me just go ahead and say it. This will be a great game. This will be historic, right? And again, Alabama, it was just last year that they won a national title. They're used to it. Kirby knows what's at stake for Georgia, though. It was January 1st, 1981 for the 1980 season. I know we kind of troll them about it. I know we talk about it and everything, right? I know we troll 1980, whatever. Georgia, it's been 40 years. But seriously, I think Georgia fans are tired of hearing it. I think Georgia players are tired of hearing it, man. I just got to call it like it is. Give them props. Give them credit. I want nothing more than Alabama to win this game. All right? I've always been an Alabama fan. I want nothing more than Alabama to go out there and skull drag Georgia like they did back in December. But if you want honesty and you want me to be unbiased, not opinionated, just call it like it is, forget that I'm pulling for anybody here. I think Georgia gets it done. And if they do, it'll be the first time in 41 years since they won a national title. And I did the math too. I looked it up. You can Google this stuff. But between January 1st, 1981, the day they beat Notre Dame and won that, I guess it was a Sugar Bowl back then for their national title, you had that one. And between January 1st, 1981 and January 10th, 2022, this Monday night, next week, is 14,984 days. That's a long time right there. And again, I mentioned how these teams win. They got to play four-quarter defense, Georgia. You got to make sure your offense can make great plays downfield. They did it against Michigan. I think they figured some stuff out with Stetson Bennett and company in that Orange Bowl. And I think they could go further and duplicate that against Alabama. And Alabama's defense, let's just call it what it is. They are vulnerable. Georgia's was against Alabama, but that was like the only game. We're going to be back next year. Alabama's going to be back on top. They're not going away or anything. But let's call it what it is. History has shown that somebody right here would be getting Alabama. Like, is Georgia not in a position of Clemson a few years ago? Remember in 2015, that season, Alabama should have never made the playoffs anyway. They just didn't have enough going for them at the start of the season, but they slowly kept picking it up after the Ole Miss loss. They get to Arizona, 45-40. They beat Deshaun Watson and the Tigers, right? The number one team. The next year, Alabama was number one. And they play in Tampa over at Raymond James, home of the Bucks, of course. Go Bucks. But they play, and Deshaun Watson brought Clemson back of a deficit. Jalen Hurts was a freshman quarterback at the time, but Deshaun Watson and Clemson got it done in a rematch. Literally, is that not the same position for Alabama? The only difference is that these teams didn't meet last year. They met this year. I mean, they did meet last year, but not on a stage like this. It's literally like Georgia's in that position of the 2017, or really 2016, 2017 Clemson. They had their shot against the champion, and they lost it big time. But they know that they're better. They know what they bring into the game. They know what they bring back, and they're talented. And I'll just say it. This team's been on a mission all year long. They really have. I mean, they are having like their last year. They're having like their LSU 2019 season this year. They're having their Alabama of last year this year. Like, Georgia's having that year. Now, at the very least, I can say as a Bama fan, it would be pretty cool to say, hey, 3 straight national titles go to the SEC. That's pretty cool. And again, I'll say, I want nothing more than Alabama to pull this off and win this game. And is it the ultimate upset? No, it's not. Is it impossible? No. I very much, look, I believe Alabama could pull this one off. Very much so. But I'll just go ahead and give you the score prediction and everything. Yeah, I mean, I think you figured it out by now. I do think Georgia's going to get it done. I think they're motivated. I think they're hungry. I think that Kirby knows what's at stake, and he can get his guys ready. I'm going to say they get 4 touchdowns. I think it comes down to their defense just standing up there at the end, or maybe whatever happens. But, man, Georgia's been on a mission. They have been. I got to give them props. This isn't me downing Alabama. This is more so just giving credit where credit is due. Georgia's been that team this year, and I think they could do it. So, Georgia, you get one shot at this, right? What was that song by Eminem, Lose Yourself? You only get one shot. Do not miss your chance. This opportunity comes once in a lifetime. This is your moment. This is your chance, Georgia. You got to take an opportunity. You can't pass this up. Kirby knows it. The players know it. Stetson Bennett and company know it. Nick Saban can afford to lose this game. He'll be like, all right, screw it. I lost another national title, whatever. Let's get to the offseason. Let's fix some things up. And let's have Bryce Young as a junior go out and lead this team again. Georgia loses this game, and Kirby's like, what do I do now? I'm fixing to lose guys like Nakobe Dean, like Jordan Davis. He's going to lose some guys to the NFL. Georgia has the experienced guys. Alabama has a few, but they also have quite a bit that's really, really young that'll still be back next year. Kind of like 2019. Think about last year. What they had last year with Mac Jones and Waddle and Devontae, they're gone now. They didn't win the title in 2019, but they came back for a mission. They came back for a national title. I feel like they're kind of in that position. This is almost like 2019 where people thought Bama would get back. They get back to the title game, but then all of a sudden this monster in the SEC and LSU comes out of nowhere and has that glory season. I think Georgia's having that glory season for them, and I think they're going to get it done. Believe me, and again, I rarely ever pick against Alabama, but I got to go with my gut. I really do think Georgia could get this done, but trust me when I say on Monday night, I will be pulling for Alabama harder than I ever have before, and I hope that I'm dead wrong, and I hope we upset the Dogs, and I hope we shut them up too. Trenches, Chess, Ugga Boy, I love y'all to death. I love you to death, but man, sit down, shut up. Let's just go watch the game. Go play it, baby. Come on. Alabama, you can do it. But, man, there's something in my mind that just says, maybe Georgia's got this. I don't know. But if I'm being honest, I think it could be a 28-24. I don't know if anybody hits 30. I think you see some offense, but you see a lot of defense, a little bit of old school football in there, and I think Georgia gets it done overall at the end of the day. Hey, listen, again, Alabama, I want nothing more than them to win this game, get it done, and go back-to-back. I want nothing more than that. And that'd be pretty big for Saban, too, because think about it. And I mentioned this the other day. He might have 7 titles in total and already broke Bear Bryant, but he still has 6 at Bama. All 6 of Bears were at Bama, too. If he wins this, he has 8 in total, and he also holds the record for most by an Alabama coach at 7. So that's pretty historic. But again, I think Alabama could win, but I think Georgia will. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those. I got to go with my gut. I got to give props where they're given and due, and it's Georgia's year. There's nothing else I can say. It's set up perfectly, right? Jeff Webster said quite a bit this season. All the stars are aligning perfectly for Georgia this year, right? True. And he keeps mentioning all the recruiting. Yeah, you better get ready. 22, 23, 24 with recruiting. Better get ready. Because we'll let you have this year, Georgia. We'll let somebody else take it. But the recruiting and everything that Alabama's doing now, they're not going away after this. They could lose this game. They could win it. They're not going away. They're going to keep building. They're going to keep recruiting. They're going to keep winning. They're going to keep being champions that they are. They will. But for this year, I'm going with the Georgia Bulldogs. That's really all I could say. I think I've said enough already. Hey, I love you guys. Jesus loves you. He's got an amazing plan. And again, we're just getting started with 2022. A lot of great content and things coming your way on the channel here. Please like, comment, and subscribe right here to Ballard Sports Media for more amazing sports content. And again, good luck to both these teams. Georgia, I hope we come in and slap you around. I hope we do. But, man, y'all have been on a mission, and I'm not going to be too upset if we lose. I'll applaud. I'll give you props. You've earned it. But y'all be careful, because y'all might be dominating the East, but guess who's still dominating the West years and years down the road is Alabama. They'll be back. They will be. And they'll be hungry for more. I promise you. I love you guys. Keep your head up. Please like, comment, and subscribe right here to Ballard Sports Media for more sports content, folks. And until next time, Ballard Sports Media, check it out. Y'all have a good one. Roll Tide. Woo!
It really doesn't matter what you think. It really doesn't matter what you say.